Mm. Yes, indeed. Recording is in progress, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome along to another weekly edition of the NFL podcast produced by your friends at the Cookie Gas Podcast Network. Welcoming in. And obviously, Merry Christmas. Happy Hanukkah. Crazy Kwanzaa. Happy festive times to you all. Obviously, by the time you're listening to this, the big day, certainly from a Christmas perspective, will have come and gone. But cards on the table, full honesty, we're doing this slightly ahead of schedule, just as it's going to prove slightly tricky to get ourselves coordinated and all connected up over the festive period. So we're going to put this one in the can, as it were, so to speak. Um, so we've got something to bring you in that week between Christmas and New Year, so you're not going to go without from the NFL perspective. That sound about right, Mr. Cook?
For a second, I thought you were gonna give it the name that Sam always gives it.
Does he refer to it as the festive gooch?
It's the festive gooch. It absolutely is. The week between.
The section between. Yeah, we don't need to go into it.
Yeah.
So this is obviously the part of the podcast where we discuss week 16's goings and happenings and comings and goings and ins and outs and whatnot. But sadly, as we're recording right this second, there are no ins and outs, ups and downs. There have been no results, so we can't discuss them. So obviously, we'll do a bumper roundup before we do week 18, or before we bring week 18 to you. So
Yeah,
we'll jump straight in with week 17's game week picks. Obviously, as you can see on your screen, it's just himself and Mr. Cook. No guest this week. So stepping up to the plate once again, it is the good lady, Mrs. Amy Williams, providing her selections for week 17 as such. So, week 17, all 16 games in on the schedule as all the bye weeks are finished. This will be the last week with a Thursday night football fixture. He says, having not actually checked week 18, I would be very surprised if there was. Let me just double check. Week 18 is Oh, they're all showing up as TBD.
Oh.
And I can only assume that is because they're waiting to get the final standings out to see who they're going to put on as the Sunday night game. Because the rest of them will all kick off at 6 or 9:25, I would imagine.
Let me see. I don't doubt that in any way. I'm just wondering if the one of the other avenues. So can I get into it? I can't even get into it. Well, let me in. So
Yeah,
um,
I'm pretty sure that's the way they normally do it because they don't like to split things too much because in case there's any sort of like shenanigans going around with like teams knowing what other teams need to get into the postseason and whatnot.
hang
So
on
I
a
think
minute.
yes,
Weeks. We are talking week 17.
we are. But I was just saying this should be the last week with a Thursday night game. Week 18 as a Thursday night game.
I don't know. I can't find out. It's the short version.
Yeah.
No,
So I
no.
think,
I thought I
like I
could.
said, I'm pretty sure this is the way they do it because
It's what?
obviously, if it was if it was right at the start of week 18 and one of the teams needed to win, but hope that another team loses or something like that, if they play their game on the Thursday and they have to wait 4 whole days to wait to see what's going to happen with the other outcomes, I think they tend to keep it so that most of the teams play around the same time, and then they leave the one game that has the sort of the most riding on it as the Sunday night fixture. But either way, this should, in theory, be the last game on a Thursday night this season. So, the Thursday night fixture sees the already eliminated from postseason contention New York Jets taking on the Cleveland Browns in Cleveland. Myself and Andy have given the advantage to the home field Browns, whereas Mrs. Williams has backed the New York Jets on this one. Interesting. Will it pay off? Will her interesting selection pay off? Let's wait and see. The next game is scheduled for Saturday, or the 30th of December, as it would be. Technically, it'll be played on the early hours of Sunday morning here in the UK, and it sees the Detroit Lions taking on the Dallas Cowboys in Arlington. I've given the home and field advantage to the Cowboys on this one, whereas Andy and Amy have both gone with the Lions. Next up, we move to the Sunday 6 o'clock slot. So this is where the majority of the games will take place. We have the Miami Dolphins at the Baltimore Ravens. And somewhat surprisingly, we've all taken the Ravens in that one. I don't know whether that's just because it's home field for the Ravens or whether we just feel that the Ravens are more sort of equipped for the postseason than the Dolphins.
Smidgy. It's a little tiny taste.
I know the exact reason why Amy's picked it. It's just because I don't think in the entire time that she's ever done picks, I don't think she's ever picked against the Ravens. So that is not surprising that she's gone that way this time.
I'd actually like to see. I'd actually like to see a a timeline of events for however many times she's picked the Ravens and how many times she's been right. I'd love to see that graph.
So obviously, based on this season, I don't know how many times she's done the picks, but I don't know if she's picked on the weeks that the Ravens lost. She did. She picked the Ravens the week they lost against the Browns. Oh dear. So it's not an exact science, let's put it that way. The next game sees the New England Patriots taking on the Buffalo Bills in Buffalo. Myself and Andy have gone with the Bills on that one, whereas Amy has taken the Patriots. Again, it is a divisional matchup. Strange things can happen when teams play interdivisional. So, may I remind you of the Falcons-Panthers game from a couple of weeks ago?
Please don't.
I mean, no one needs to ever be reminded of that game, as it were. Next up, we have the Atlanta Falcons taking on the Chicago Bears in Chicago. And maybe based off of that particular Falcons result, we have all gone for the Bears in this one. Definitely a case of once bitten, twice shy with the Atlanta Falcons, methinks. Next up, we have a repeat of a Week 15 game where we have the Tennessee Titans taking on the Houston Texans. And we all think it'll be a similar outcome on this one. We've all gone with the Texans to get the win there. Next game sees the Las Vegas Raiders taking on the Indianapolis Colts. Myself and Andy have backed the Colts. Amy has gone with the Raiders for that one. There was the Carolina Panthers traveling to Jacksonville to take on the Jaguars. We've all taken the Jaguars in that one. Next up, we've got the LA Rams taking on the New York Giants. Myself and Andy have backed the Rams. Amy has taken the Giants in that one. Next game sees the Arizona Cardinals traveling to Philadelphia to take on the Eagles. We've all given the advantage to the Eagles in that one. Then we have the Saints taking on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in Tampa. Myself and Andy back the Saints. Amy's backing the Bucks. And then the last of the 6 o'clock slotted games sees the San Francisco 49ers taking on the Washington Commanders. We've all gone for the San Francisco 49ers in that one. Then we have 3 games in the 9 o'clock slot. We have the Pittsburgh Steelers taking on the Seattle Seahawks. In Seattle, I've gone with the Steelers. Andy and Amy, sorry, have gone for the Seahawks. Again, the only thing I'm thinking in my head, Steelers still never had a losing season under Tomlin. They need to get at least one more win, preferably two, to keep that record going. They can have a tie in there. They had the 8-1 situation last year where they kept the fact that they never had a losing season because they had that tie. I think there's the potential that the Steelers will win at least two more games this season. Whether it's enough to get them in the postseason, I don't think that'll be the case. But I think they might just about scrape another winning season under Mike Tomlin. Then we move to the two of the 9:25 games. We have the Chargers at the Broncos. Myself and Andy have backed the Broncos, whereas Amy has given the advantage to the Chargers for some unknown reason. The second to last game of the week sees the Cincinnati Bengals taking on the Kansas City Chiefs. We've all backed the Chiefs with the home field advantage. And the Sunday night football, no Monday night football this week, just a Sunday game. So the Monday night football will recommence, I believe, with the postseason. So the Sunday night football sees the Green Bay Packers taking on the Minnesota Vikings. I have gone with the Pack. Andy and Amy have gone with the Vikings. Interesting stuff. Let's see how it pans out.
Obviously, we don't have, when making picks at this stage, as we are doing the peek behind the curtain, we don't have the results for the week before. So if there's a scenario, and I'm not saying this is how people do their picks, but if there is a scenario where you're looking at this team has this many wins versus this team who has this many wins, and that there is there's a 2-win advantage to one of those teams, you might say, I think that team's going to get it. Week before, they might have had the best game of their season. They might look like they've got it together. That might completely change the pick you would make going into that game. So obviously we're making the best guess at this point in time with I imagine some good feelings involved. So yeah.
Pretty much, like Andy said there. Obviously, we normally we'd have literally the games that have just finished the week before to base this off. But sadly, we don't have that to our disposal. So that's the week 17 game picks in for myself, Mr. Cook, and this week's guest. All that's left is for me and Andy to do our 4 picks for the side bet, and equally, I don't even have last week's side bet results to go off. So we'll have to base it off the fact that as of week 15, Andy remains 6 points behind myself. So would you like to take your selections first, or would you like me to go into bat first?
I'll take a first pick on this one.
No, okay.
Couple of standout games here. I mean, obviously, we are looking for bankers. I feel our first few picks are probably going to be a little bit more cemented than last week's picks. And I'm going to start with San Francisco 49ers to beat the Washington Commanders.
It's a solid start. I will follow that up with the Cleveland Browns to beat the New York Jets.
Yeah.
And I will follow that pick with the Jacksonville Jaguars to beat the Carolina Panthers.
Yeah.
Back to you, sir, for your next 2 selections.
Couple of absolute bankers there, couple of solid picks. I will be taking the Philadelphia Eagles to beat the Arizona Cardinals, please.
I like it.
And I know in some respects, not necessarily the safest of choices, but I will be taking the Buffalo Bills to be the New England Patriots.
Yep, yep. I like it. It's another solid pick. So I have two left. I'll go with the Colts again. I believe I backed them the week before.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll have the Colts to beat the Raiders. And because they're playing at home, I'll back the Texans
Oh,
to oust
you just nipped that one out from under me.
the Tennessee Titans. So over to you, sir, to finish us off for the week.
It might not be the smartest pick. I know I say that a lot, and I'm often right. Um, and we are projected. I mean, I know I've said this already. We are projecting forward 2 weeks. I think the team I'm picking against have just got a few too many issues going on right now. So I will take the Denver Broncos to beat the Los Angeles Chargers.
I mean, it's a fairly solid selection. Let's be honest. I did wonder if you were leaning towards taking the Chiefs over the Bengals.
Honestly, I looked at that, and at this point in time, it comes down to the fact that we have to work on the principle that, barring major disaster, Patrick Mahomes will still be in that game. Versus the fact that Joe Burrow's out for the season. I think it would be a lot harder to pick that game if both quarterbacks were there and healthy. I think the Chiefs will probably win that game, but I think the Bengals are doing a lot better than anybody thought they would at this stage. I think the consensus was there's a lot of good players on the Bengals, but their season's basically over at this point, and their answer to that was no, it isn't. So a game that looks like that, I look at it and go, I think it's just better to stay away rather than say, oh, I'm pretty sure the Chiefs will get that one. I'm pretty sure the Chiefs will get that one. Oh,
So apologies for that horrendous little sound that just came through your ear holes there. Since losing to the Steelers in Week 12, the Bengals are on a 3-game winning streak. So they beat the Jaguars in Jacksonville in Week 13. They beat the Colts in Cincinnati in Week 14, and they put paid to the Vikings in Cincinnati in Week 15. So it's not like you say, it's not a terrible thought process to think that they might have enough to get it done against the Chiefs, who haven't looked great this season. Let's be honest.
they have
So,
not.
just to clarify and to wrap up the week, Andy's 4 selections are the San Francisco 49ers at the Washington Commanders, the Philadelphia Eagles at home to the Arizona Cardinals, the Buffalo Bills at home to the New England Patriots, and the Denver Broncos at home to the Los Angeles Chargers. Whereas my 4 selections are the Cleveland Browns at home to the New York Jets, the Jacksonville Jaguars at home to the Carolina Panthers, the Indianapolis Colts at home to the Las Vegas Raiders, and the Houston Texans at home to the Tennessee Titans. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the end of a very short podcast this week. Obviously, we explained the reasons as to why at the start of the show. Obviously, just given the festive period, it felt that this was the most sensible thing to do in case we weren't able to get together in the festive break and be able to record something. So we've put something down, so we've got something that you can still have a listen to in the period where we're off. I don't really have anything else to add to that, to be honest with you.
I mean, it's one of those. There's nothing we can talk about from last week because we haven't had a last week. There's nothing that we can
Oh,
project
yeah.
forward to because we don't even know what the games are going to look like. So at this point in time, we are basically just kind of doing our hedge picks for the week and moving on. I believe by the time we come back, by the time we reconvene, it will be 2024. So that means what we need to do now is to we've just had Christmas, so it's the New Year shout outs. So it's a big Happy New Year from myself, and I'm sure from my glamorous colleague. I will say this, just to end on. Yesterday was that day, the day where I look forward into the future. I find that sweet, sweet Sunday. I find the date of that sweet, sweet Sunday, and I then book the Monday off after the Super Bowl, ladies and gentlemen. It has finally happened, automatically accepted. I went, oh, I best do that real quick so that it's a job done and off my plate. And that is official, ladies and gentlemen. It is that time of year where it's time to book the day off after the Super Bowl. I think we can all agree on that one.
Very nicely done, sir. So yes, as usual, thank you to Mr. Cook joining me to go through the week's games. Thank you to all of you, fellas and ladies. There might be some ladies out there that listen to this. It is, of course, all down to you. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll be back next week, as you're listening to this, in a couple of weeks. If you're listening to the other podcast, which doesn't make any sense because I didn't say this on the other podcast, but Inception. What more can you say? Thank you as always for tuning in. We'll be back in the new year with some more NFL based nonsense. We'll bring you week 17's wrap up, week 18's look forward, and obviously we'll be able to have more of an idea of who's going to be in that late slot of games in week 18. But until then, as always, take care of yourselves, take care of everybody else, and we'll see you on the other side. Toodly bye.